when we are so focused on getting your CVs right, getting prepared for the first interview, the other element of it is kind of, like you said, the stress is not really looked at how to manage it. So the advice that I would give to the students here is that, back then, 11 years back, like my notion was, okay, stress can be good because it brings out the best in you, and stress is stoked by fear, right? So you always had these fears, and that's what like had created stress. And then I always believed that stress was good because it brings out the best in you. Now, 11 years later, I feel there was a better way to manage that, because not all stress is good, right? So if you fundamentally look at why you're stressed, I think this is something that all of you students, once you get into the placement session, need to talk to yourself, right? So you need to understand what are the fears behind it, what is the fear driving it, and then when you look at it from that perspective, it's about addressing that fear or addressing what is it that you worry about, right? So then essentially the 5 whys, right? So when you get down to the root of it, then you kind of know, okay, is it because I've taken a big loan, or is it because I lose face in front of people if I don't have a job after I play? So it could be n number of reasons. Some of it could be trivial, some of it could be much bigger, but I think it boils down to drilling those innate fear in you, that what are the things that you are worried about, right? And once you kind of have a list of what are the things that bothers you, which makes you stressed, then you work to address that. So the first point is acknowledging the fear, like what are the things that you're worried about. The second thing is working on them. So okay, so maybe I don't have a job for next 3 months, and what is my plan B for that, for example in Chinmay's case, right? So then if you have a plan for them, or at least if you think through them, then you kind of are better equipped to manage that stress. I'm not saying that stress won't be there, it will be there, but then when you acknowledge that fear and you put a plan around it, then it becomes more manageable. Then you kind of know what's around the corner, right? Because I think in the hindsight, that was probably one thing that I would have changed, because I didn't know. I just felt, all stress is good. So I was just soaking up pressure, soaking up stress, thinking that it'll bring out the best in me. But I think if the students here have that foresight to look around the corner, in being able to identify what are the things that create stress for them, basically take a paper, just list them out. It could be not more than 10, I can tell you, because once you get to that 10, then that's pretty much right. A lot of it is irrational. So once you list out those fears, and then you have a plan around to how to mitigate them or address them, then that at least, calms you much better, and you're, in a much relaxed or balanced state of mind, which can bring out the best in the interviews, right? So it doesn't matter if you have all the high CGPA and everything on the tools wise, resume is good, but at the end of the day, if you are still stressed, it may not bring out my 2 cents to the students.
I think for people who are without work experience, you are branded millennials, and if you are millennials, then you should come across as millennials. You should come across those personality which is a representative of the customers. And again, as I told you, my litmus test of hiring someone is just one question: do I want this talent in my team or in my competitor's team? The moment I feel that him being in competitor gives him a competitive advantage, I will not want him to go there, right? There are certain people who I would love to be in my competition. They also give me competitive advantage for obvious reasons. But if I am convinced about the talent of the person, we really don't care how many years of experience, what background. We have people who have been playing violin for their life, but they came across people who could be very good problem solvers. So just because they were very good in violin and they have never done maths doesn't matter. If it is the right talent, it will be recruited. Finally, the third thing which I would want to leave, this was a discussion earlier, I didn't want to disrupt. I think by far in my personal career, although my specialization was logistics and supply chain, but I was very, very close to finance. The batchmates of mine who are on this call would vouch for it, that just before the exams, there were a lot of extra classes which I would take for accounting, finance, and that helped me tremendously, because bringing in those cost accountancy, financial modeling, etc. skills into supply chain was something valuable. So the first semester, at least in our time, used to be a generic semester where we would do marketing, we would do finance, we would do HR. I think that helped us tremendously, and that gives a very well-rounded personality outlook to the interviewer. So that is extremely essential. Please bring that to the fore, that you are not just a single trick pony. You have multiple skills. And as a millennial, if you speak as a millennial, you come across as a more confident person. You come across a person who, like Krishnan was telling, right, has not soaked up so much stress. Because honestly, if you don't have a job experience, if you think logically, you have the least to lose out of this. What will happen? Another 4 months, right? Think about a person on the extreme case. He is like 10 years in experience, maybe has a kid, has a family to support, and he is in a much more stressful position to find a job. If you are not bring that confidence into the interview, interviewers will like it, and that will compensate for far more than those 10 years of experience someone else could show.
With the situation that it was then and similar situation is now, I would suggest you need to cut your losses soon. Find a job in India, if there is one available, or any other country which can at least make you survive, make you float through this time before you can come up high and put your head high up.
Post COVID-19, I'm thinking, I cannot see far ahead, but I'm thinking probably we look at opportunities that look at modeling, supply chain capabilities, opportunities that look at financial risk mitigation. How can individuals who have knowledge about specific capex, specific investment scenarios that look into building into an organization the skill sets.
First of all, find out what you like and then focus on it. And anyway, 2 to 3 years down the line, you will be changing jobs. You would want to do something different. You will want to grow as a person, and you will not stay a strategic sourcing guy for the rest of, or a strategic sourcing girl for the rest of the life. You're going to become bigger. At that point of time, this will just be a part. What you have to learn is how to learn. That is what is important. That is what matters. CEOs don't know everything, but they do know everything, right? And that's how you have to think. Think about 15 years down the line. Don't think I'm a strategic sourcing guy. You're not. You're going to become CEOs one day.